We just got out of the hearing. A bunch of us came over here to the Heritage Foundation for lunch. I am so energized because there are so many people here who are convinced that Bobby is a man for these times. Honestly, one of my favorite things is that he says he prays every day that God would use him. And I believe those prayers have come to much effect. He is a staunch defender of children's health. You know, he started out as an environmental lawyer. So he was concerned about toxic waters and how we were polluting them and how corporations were polluting them. And then he started getting interested in what we're putting into our bodies. And so now, you know, in this hearing, all kinds of senators were kind of grilling him. Actually, as someone said, it felt like it was good cop, bad cop, because you would get the senators who were against him because he's going to be a part of the Trump administration's appointees. So the Democrats were like, you said this in 2003, and on this podcast you said that. And he would try to bring it back to his mission. He said, I have been charged with helping disrupt this trend of chronic disease. This is an epidemic that's affecting our children, and we are sick as a nation, sicker than we've ever been before, even though we spend more and more on health care. It's crazy. So our healthcare costs are skyrocketing, and our health is plummeting. Make it make sense, like people say, right? So of course this is where I join hands with Bobby, because I'm like, okay, this is about giving people options. As he said, if someone wants to eat Twinkies, let them eat Twinkies. If someone wants to eat McDonald's, he's like my boss likes to eat McDonald's. He goes, let them. But let them know what's in their food. We're not going to tell them what to eat. We're going to tell them what's in what they're eating. I love that. And I think the same goes for vaccines. He did not say this explicitly, but he did say he is going to be committed to transparency. If he gets confirmed to be the head of Health and Human Services, he is committed to transparency, making sure that the science is rigorous. He wants it to be the gold standard of science, and making sure that people can make informed decisions when it comes to their well-being, whether it's the shots they're going to take or pharmaceuticals. I didn't know this, but I think there's a particular drug that, if I'm not mistaken, and if I didn't hear this wrong, the FDA said we're not going to tell people what the side effects are, only if it's death. Otherwise, we're not going to tell people what the side effects are. They were purposely withholding information that we, as a public, have every right to hear and every right to know. So he said, this is the kind of thing I want to correct. Again, the senators were trying to, it felt like to me, kind of trip him up and help him lose his way. Well, you said this, and are you going to just rubber stamp everything Trump says? Of course he's not, because remember, he ran as an independent presidential candidate. His goal was not to be a conservative Republican, but his heart's desire, I would say his heartbeat, is to reverse the trend of chronic disease in our nation. We are sicker than ever with obesity, diabetes, heart conditions, all kinds of things caused by metabolic dysfunction. So I'm really, really hopeful, because I think he did very well with all of the grilling, and I'm hopeful because he really said, this is not a Republican issue. We don't have Republican children and Democratic children. We have our nation's children. And he really wants to lift them all up and see them live their healthiest lives. That's my heartbeat too, in case you didn't know. And I'll tell you something. During the hearing, there was a woman next to me. I looked over at her and I could see her praying. This makes me want to cry. I have to tell you. I could see her praying under her breath, and I was like, yes, I am praying too. And there are a lot of people in this movement who are convinced that God doesn't want us to be sidelined by sickness. That is what the evil one wants, that everyone's so sick that they can't even think for themselves or live their best lives. They can't even think about getting pregnant, for example, because they can't make it happen because they're so ill. So we want everyone to be so healthy. I like to say, so that health is a second thought, that they're fulfilling their dreams. As Kennedy did say, healthy people have 1,000 dreams. Sick people have just one. I was like, oh my gosh, he is so right. So I do believe and pray that he is a man for these times. And I'm not super political, by the way, but I am convinced that this man is passionate to make sure there's more transparency so that we can all understand better what health decisions we're individually making. Because the real way to make America healthy again, as I've told you before, is for each of us to take our health into our own hands and make choices that every day make us healthier, because then there'll be this huge ripple effect, right? So please, please, please don't wait for the government to save you. And that said, please, please, please keep in your prayers this whole confirmation process. I am hopeful that Bobby will get approved so that we can have more transparency from the government and more unity, that we would realize health is not a partisan issue. All right, I love you. And if you want more on my thoughts on MAHA, on sickness, on faith, join my Holistic Hub community. That's where my holistic besties are. It is only like $20 a month, and I give my unvarnished, uncensored thoughts. It is a lovely place where you can listen to my private podcast and have support. You might feel like you're the only one in your area that thinks like you do. You might be the only person in your physical proximity area, but you're not the only person on this planet, and I want to be here for you and part of your community. So check out the Holistic Hub community. Stay tuned for more updates here and in private. Hasta pronto.